ready.
So as many of you know, the things that really excite me for clone troopers nowadays are like 1/6 scale clone troopers, like Hot Toys, some old sideshows, and I'd remembered that Medicom had made a few 1/6 scale clone troopers, and I wanted to check those out. So I just Googled Medicom Clone Trooper, and when I did, I was reminded of the fact that the Mafex, or some people say Mafex, I usually say Mafex, and that's what I will say, the Mafex Clone Trooper existed. I actually totally forgot this was a thing. Well, I did for quite some time, but I started kind of remembering and looking around for it. But when I Googled it, and I saw the picture, and I especially saw a website that I've ordered from in the past have it for a very good price, because the value of the yen right now, especially compared to the USD, now is the time to buy. Shipping still sucks, though. But yeah, I found it pretty cheap from a Japanese website I've ordered from in the past. I'm like, you know what? Now's the time. Let me get this Mafex Clone Trooper. And I did, and when I got it, I was very surprised. This thing both does a lot of things that are very impressive and make it the contender to be the best 1/12 scale clone trooper, but it has some oddities to it that make me kind of wonder if it is the best. It's good. It's really good. But it has a few quirks about it that I think other clone troopers kind of did better. Now, I will briefly compare it to a couple other import clone troopers in this video, but I do plan on, once I finally get around to getting the new like Andor clone trooper mold in the plain white figure, I want to get the plain white one because they just have the Apo right now. But once I finally get around to getting that, because I've been putting that off for some reason, I want to do a comprehensive like 1/12 scale clone trooper overview, going over the original Black Series, the second mold for Black Series, this new third mold for Black Series, the Bandai model, SH Figuarts, Mafex. I want to compare all of the 1/12 scale clones and have a final determination on which one is the best. That's going to be a very comprehensive video, but I do plan on doing it very shortly. But before we get into that, this is the Mafex clone. It's very nice. So let me move him out of the way so we can take a quick look at the box. The box looks very nice. You do get both Phase 1 and Phase 2 helmet. I probably prefer the Phase 1 helmet on this particular figure. Mafex Medicom toy, number 41, Star Wars. You get the clones on the side. You get the clones on the back. Comes with the DC-15 rifle and carbine. It does have the two helmets. And yeah, it's them on the side, and it's a cool box. I don't know if I'll keep it. I don't really need to, but I always have this thing like, oh, it's an import, I should keep the box, but the box is pretty boring. I don't think I should, so there's the box. We'll keep it out of the way. So the figure itself is very nice. It is very nice. I would say, like, when it comes to a lot of the looks of it, it is perhaps one of the best clone trooper toys ever made. In my opinion, like, if you want the best basic white clone trooper toy ever made, the Hot Toys, without a doubt. You get both helmets, interchangeable hands, looks gorgeous, tons of weathering. The Hot Toys is the best. Phase 1 helmet's a little big, but it is insanely amazing. But this is very, very good too. Definitely, like, if not the best 1/12 scale clone, at least number 2. This thing is actually very nice. So what does it come with? You can see he is holding the DC-15 blaster carbine right there, and you can see it has a little bit of paint, some golds and some silvers. I appreciate that. He has 2 trigger finger hands. He is using one to hold that, and the other one he is using as a pointing hand. And I think it works pretty well as a pointing hand. And you'll notice why I said that in just a minute. It does have the standard Mafex base. You can tighten the screws if you want a little bit more stability. Mine's kind of loose already, so I probably need to tighten those. Still, the Mafex bases are some of my favorite bases. This is my third Mafex figure, because I also have the Mark 45, which is a floppy mess, but still looks gorgeous. And I have the Hush Batman, which is amazing. So what else does he come with? He has the DC-15 rifle, which also looks insane. I would say this is probably the most nicely detailed DC-15 in the 1/12 scale. All the paint, a lot of the mold and the texture, it just looks really good. Love that rifle. He does have fisted hands, and I'm not really going to interchange many of these hands. I don't really need to. He's got fisted hands. He has gripping hands for the guns, which I really appreciate, like a nice rifle rest hand. I really do like that. He does have open palm gesturing hands, which I think are very good for, you know, maybe a loose hold of the rifle or just, you know, hands down, something like that. And oddly enough, he comes with pointing hands. Thank you, I guess, but I don't really think they're very necessary, considering the fact that I think the trigger hand looks pretty good as a pointing hand. And they just have it pointing, I guess, for, I don't know, trigger safety. He has good gun etiquette, I guess, but it's pretty much just so you don't have to worry about, like, flexing the finger into the actual trigger guard. That's the main reason. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm sure it upsets a few of you, like, oh, he's not actually pulling the trigger. It's a toy. You would only really notice that if you specifically looked at his hand to see if he was doing the trigger finger. But last but not least, he does have the Phase 2 helmet. And this helmet, I will say, this is not the best Phase 2 helmet in the 1/12 scale. It is not. It still looks very good. I would say it is better than the Black Series, probably both of them. But it's not perfect. I think it's just a little bit too bottom heavy, I think. The mouth's a little too broad. But you can see, like, covering that, the visor looks really good. The visor is pretty much spot on. But that is just, kind of reminds me of that old 12-inch 91st Recon Corps clone helmet, but not nearly as garish. But it's still a good Phase 2 helmet, but I do definitely prefer the Phase 1 helmet because I think it's pretty spot on. I think that is pretty spot on to a Phase 1 helmet. I would say this is the best Phase 1 helmet in 1/12 scale, for sure. That, like I've said, that is spot on. So that's pretty much all he comes with. Let's get a little hands-on with him. So as you can see, I have him in like this cool running, pointing pose. I will switch out his hand one time, because I do want to point out, I enjoy how Mafex does the interchangeable hands, while at the same time I do not. Because you can see there's no like mushroom or anything, it's just a straight peg. And it's nice for just like having them slot in and out very nicely. But we do encounter the issue of not all of the holes in the hands are prepared for this slot. And that's where I feel like some companies, like Bandai with their Robot Spirits figures, they give you whole trees where you can keep the interchangeable hands rested in, and it keeps the socket ready. Like right now, look at me just trying to like wrestle this in. Meanwhile, he came packed with the fists on. Look at how easy the fist slides in. Here. I'm pretty sure he came packed with the fist. So let's get that slotted in. Yeah, look at that. No problem at all. No problem. Just had to line up the hole. No problem. Slides out. No problem. But once you start getting like a hand that really hasn't seen use, it just struggles, especially since it's on that hinge. Let's use this hand, because this hand I know is accustomed to it, because I usually hold him or have him with this hand so he can hold his guns. So yeah, you know, he can, you know, rest his gun in his hand, and it looks pretty nice. And yeah, this is a very, very nice looking clone trooper. It's very nice. I would say appearance-wise, it is probably my favorite. I love the glossy armor. I know some people prefer their clones looking a little bit more worn or weathered. Some even prefer like a more matte armor. That's what Hot Toys did. Hot Toys went the matte armor route. I don't know. From time to time, I really like seeing them glossy. I like seeing the glossy, like, plastoid armor. I think it just looks very good. Someone's going to say in the comments, actually, it was just Stormtroopers that had plastoid. Clones had better armor. I don't know. I'm not that into it. So, yeah, it looks gorgeous. The sculpt is very nice. It has little hits of paint where it needs it. It does pass the red dot on the back test. That is very nice. Yeah, it just looks really good. It looks very good. I will show it with the Phase 2 helmet in a moment. But one thing I need to talk about, and this is where it starts having some issues, is with the articulation. Not necessarily the posability in articulation, but just the quality of the joints. It does suffer from some Mafex loosey-goosiness. Just a little bit. Not a ton. I do have to say it does feel amazing. It's kind of a softer plastic. It's not hard at all. Like, it's a softer plastic. Kind of akin to Black Series, but it feels better than Black Series. And I really enjoy that. So his head moves perfectly fine. It's on a double ball. You can get all that nice clone trooper motion you want. And just to pop the helmet with the Phase 2 on, you can see pretty similar range with the Phase 2. One thing I noticed with the Phase 2 helmet, though, I just want to point out, the black brow has like a few little chips out of it, and it looks like that straight out of the box. And I tried like scratching it to see if it was just like cheap paint, but no, it's just like not put on properly. I don't know, I might go through with a black Sharpie and try to fill that in. I don't know, it just looks kind of cheap to me. It looks very unprofessional, but at least the Phase 1 looks nice and solid. So the shoulders are very odd. The shoulder pads, they went with a style where the pads are attached to the torso. They do not rotate like the Black Series. This does not have the best shoulder pads because they just kind of stay there. And one thing too, the shoulder joints were originally so loose, the stiffness of the shoulder pad, you lifted the shoulder up and the shoulder just went straight down. I had to tighten his shoulder joints. They just did not work. He does also have ball joints at the shoulders, as well as a bicep swivel. He does have double jointed elbows that work very nicely. I really do enjoy the elbow articulation. Some may say, oh, it doesn't have the strap in the front. It's a toy. It needs a joint right there. You've already pretty much seen the wrists. They work pretty typical for an import. The torso is very nicely articulated. The belt is floating, which I think definitely benefits it. But this is definitely the broadest range on a Clone Trooper torso joint that I've definitely ever seen. The legs are very nice because they do have a drop down, so you can get the legs moving pretty far forward. You can also get them moving out to the side all the way. You get a thigh swivel. You do get a double jointed knee. I don't know if you've noticed a little bit. This knee is pretty nice and tight. This one, it's got a few points where it's kind of loose. It's not like super floppy, but you can see it is flopping a little bit. It's a little floppy, so that's kind of a problem. His ankles are pretty nice. He's got typical like import rockers. He's got a little toe joint, which I like toe joints. I personally like toe joints, but I do understand they're not for everybody. So overall, his articulation is very nice. It could be better, specifically in the shoulders, and it could be a little tighter, specifically in the shoulders and the knees. But I would say when it comes to like playing with it, it feels pretty solid. It could feel a lot worse, but it could feel a little better. I will definitely say that. So I do want to compare it to a couple other import Clone Trooper toys I have. I will, again, do that full comprehensive video at some point, but I just want to compare it to these two imports because I think they're very relative to each other. So first, here is the Bandai model kit Clone Trooper. I will forever display him with those binoculars. If you have ever looked at the Revenge of the Sith visual dictionary, you will understand why. And here it is. I actually got this in the P.O. box very awesomely. Here it is with the SH Figuarts Phase 2 Clone Trooper. So you can see it is around the same size as like a Black Series style clone. Here, let me move the Figuarts one real quick just to give you a size comparison with Black Series, because I'm sure many of you will be curious. He runs a little bigger. He runs a little taller, but I wouldn't say to such an extent where he would not fit in a display. I definitely can say that. I would say the Figuart probably stands out like the sorest thumb out of all of them. But out of these, man, I'm not sure. I'm not sure which my favorite is. I love the model kit. I do. I would give the best Phase 2 helmet to the model kit, which is funny because I cover the visor with the binoculars. When it comes to the feel, I really love the Mafex. But I'm also very happy with the Figuart. The Figuart has the worst helmet. It definitely has the worst Clone Trooper Phase 2 helmet in 1/12 scale, that's for sure. But it just has this nice feel to it. It feels very durable. The joints are very solid. I really do enjoy the shoulder pads, how they're kind of like on these, you know, joints. They really get out of your way. I don't know if he has the best shoulder pads. I really do like the modern Black Series shoulder pads, so it may go to him. But honestly, out of these, you can't really go wrong. I think they're all very nice. And it's really cool how there are some import Clone Trooper figures. I mean, I personally am very happy with these. But let me know in the comments, what do you think? Which one do you think is the best? I'm still struggling to decide. I really do think I need to make that big comprehensive video. Because keep in mind, not only will we have these 3 import clones to look at, but we will also have 3 iterations of the Black Series Clone Trooper mold. And I think I'm going to focus primarily on the Phase 2 iteration, but I will definitely compare Phase 1 helmets as well, especially because of this. Like this, I do want to switch it one more time, just because I really like the look of this Phase 1 helmet a lot more. I will display him in the Phase 1 helmet. Like, that is not a matter of debate. Come on, pop on. Pop on. There we go. You can see he's very articulated to the point where me doing that like totally wrecked his pose. totally wrecked it, but it's not too hard to get him standing again. So yeah, let me know. What do you think? I really do love all of these, but I'm very happy I got the Mafex clone. If you are a Clone Trooper action figure fan and you do not have the Mafex clone, I would definitely consider it. Oddly enough, they have not made any other Mafex Clone Trooper. They dropped the reg, gave it a Phase 1 and Phase 2 helmet, and they're like, we're done. They did not repaint it into 501st, into 212th, into anything. It was just plain white trooper, here you go, Bob's your uncle. I understand that with the Bandai model because it's a model kit. You're supposed to paint it. But for a Mafex, I'm kind of surprised that they didn't repaint it. Alrighty, guys, let me know again what you think down in the comments below. And look forward to that comprehensive comparison. That will happen. I will compare them joint by joint. It will be a very long video, but I hope it is very informative for you to determine the best clone. It'll happen at some point here shortly. I don't know when. Just look forward to it. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for watching again. Special shout out to channel members. As always, thank you all so much for the continued support. Have a great one, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.